Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, offering seasonal nonstop service to Denver. Outdoor concerts, hiking, and more activities in the Mile High City are one flight away on Frontier Airlines. Close, convenient, Sierra. More at CIRA.com.
Bloomington weighs options to address the community's housing shortage. That's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Friday, May 24th. I'm Lauren Warnicki, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with Bloomington's new city manager expecting to move swiftly to address the housing shortage in the Twin Cities. WGLT's Charlie Schlenker has more.
City Manager Jeff Jurgens says there will be a council meeting early next month to talk about barriers to creating new housing and sharing ideas of what the city can do. He hopes to have a resolution before the council at the last meeting in June to give the staff direction.
With the caveat that our funds are not unlimited, I think they're going to be aggressive. I think there's going to be a consensus to really look at and be aggressive to see how we can spur some development.
Jurgens says he does not have a dollar range in mind yet for the cost of housing incentives. He expects the council to favor initiatives that will require construction of housing with a certain percentage of the development set aside for people under a certain income per year.
Honestly, I think that's where I'm going to see our council go. We really need to focus on workforce housing, that housing that's in the 30% of your income range. Developers, they're not able to build that type of housing. It's not making economic sense for them. So where is the gap there? And is that a gap that our council is willing to help fill in some situations?
That could include loan interest buydowns, potentially larger incentives for TIF projects, or even waiving some property taxes for individual homeowners. Jurgens also says he thinks the council is on board creating an intergovernmental agreement as recommended in the Housing Recovery Plan put out by the McLean County Regional Planning Commission. For The Leadoff, I'm Charlie Schlenker.
Here are some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. CEFCU has settled a complaint with the U.S. Justice Department over the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the Heartland Community College baseball team will look to defend its national championship over the next week. The Hawks will compete in the National Junior College World Series starting tomorrow in Enid, Oklahoma. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. Have you ever had an adverse reaction to fluorescent lights or require music to focus? Maybe you just need silence to get things done. There's a reason for that. Our brains all process the world differently. The term is neurodiversity. Experts in that field have long understood the impact different stimuli have on mood, but the right sensations can take any person from anxious to calm, angry to neutral. And in Bloomington Normal, both schools and community groups are increasingly working this into child development through sensory rooms. Let's take you inside one of those with WGLT's Melissa Allen.
Alexa, turn the sensory room on.
Okay. With that command, Youth Build McLean County Executive Director Tracy Polson has just turned an ordinary room into a student's potential oasis. Fairy lights now glow. Wall hangings and tubes around the room hum faintly as motors make water bubble hypnotically. Wall plugins disperse mild scents. Then there is the wall of fidget toys, 2 exercise balls, a swing chair, bins of manipulative toys, and a table with a Zen garden in the center. Youth Build designed the room to engage with the senses. It's a concept neurodivergent people, including those with autism, ADHD, and dyslexia, have used for years to influence mood. In Bloomington Normal, Youth Build is one of several schools and youth organizations to introduce sensory rooms for social and emotional learning of all students, including those who are neurotypical. Youth Build launched its sensory room last month. Tracy Polson says a great deal of thought went into the items selected.
They serve specific functions to really tap in to a student's dysregulated status and help them gain control over what they're feeling and then get focused and recentered and get back to work.
Which Polson says is the goal of the sensory room. And it's already been successful. Youth Build student Savannah used the room just days after it was finished.
I was in a really bad state. Like, I was bawling. It's snot coming out of my face.
She says the soft colored lights and bouncing on an exercise ball soothed her, so she was able to go to her job after school. To be ready for Youth Build students like Savannah, the sensory room took months and $20,000 in grants to come to fruition. Executive Director Tracy Polson says she toured multiple sensory rooms in the area, including Lifelong Access and Eastview Christian Church, all to see what might work at Youth Build. She says the staff didn't realize how technical it would be.
I was like, oh yeah, we'll get some lights, we'll get a comfy chair, we'll, get a rug, we'll call it good, and we'll put it, in the corner of the school. And as we started learning more about the implementation of a sensory room in a school space, in a space like Youth Build or a youth serving space, I was way off base. I was way out of my league.
Youth Build social worker Shelley Collins was the one to advocate for the sensory room. Now that it's built, she needs to develop sensory profiles for each student.
This is my research now to see what different tools in the space works for the students and why does that work for them.
For example, the tabletop Zen garden.
I realized that was very therapeutic for some of our super active students on a regular, and it was able to bring a student down to the point where typically where they would have a lot of outbursts within the time that they were in here, it was a completely different person sitting at the table.
Stevenson Elementary School in Bloomington has been using sensory therapy for over 2 decades. Occupational therapy assistant Lisa Ellis says the sensory space has taken many forms over the years.
It just kind of evolved, and we took things that we might have had in like a larger self-contained classroom. We just kind of moved them in here in like a separate space.
There are 2 sensory rooms, and then there are sensory tools scattered across the school. This includes shopping carts in the halls ready to be pushed by students who need to release energy. Ellis says it's important to have dedicated rooms as well as other resources. I'm Melissa Ellen.
You can read or hear Melissa's full story at WGLT.org.
Support for WGLT mental health coverage comes from Report for America and Chestnut Health Systems, caring for the community's physical and mental health and celebrating 50 years of service.
Before we let you go, the McLean County Memorial Day Parade returns Monday morning at 10. The route goes from downtown to Miller Park, where there will be a bandstand ceremony. That's it for today. We'll be back next Tuesday after the holiday. I'm Lauren Warnicki, and you can subscribe to the Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.